Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, welcoming you into Muskogee Media Studios here in the Creek Nation capital city of Okmulgee. Thank you for being with us here on Tulsa CW 1219. Boy, do we have a great program for you all this week. As I mentioned last week, we have all kinds of things going on in Indian country, but by far the biggest in our neck of the woods was last week's showdown. And the first time ever, WNBA, two Native athletes going head-to-head. Shoni Schimmel, who's taken the WNBA by storm in her rookie season, and second-year pro Angel Goodrich, Tahlequah Sequoia product. Great job by these Native American athletes, making us all proud. And Indian country converged on Tulsa last week at the BOK Center, and our good friends at IndianSports.com sent us in this behind-the-scenes look at a memorable night here in Creek country and Indian country everywhere.
Awesome, just to be able to go out there and, have, a standing applause when you sit there and just walk out, shaking people's hand after they do the, grand entry. And it's awesome. It's amazing just to be able to see Native Americans out there and, just to come out there and support. It means a lot to me.
The transition to your first rookie season in the WNBA, ups, downs. I know you didn't get, 11 minutes tonight. Just how do you adjust to that?
It's a learning experience, I mean, especially coming off college, starting every game and then just to come into the league, everybody's good, but at the same time, you just got to learn it and trying to go out there and get better each day. I'm learning, especially even in games, I'm still watching and learning. So I take it as a learning experience, and I'm just trying to learn every day.
In the WNBA? It's been pretty good. It's great, especially being here in Tulsa. Since I'm from Oklahoma, my family gets to come to every single game. I've had great teammates, great coaching staff. I mean, it's been a little different with last year with the coaching staff changing, but I've enjoyed it. It's a great experience, a great opportunity, and I'm just truly blessed to be here.
Okay. And how do you feel whenever you see a lot of Native Americans show up at the game?
I think it's great to see so many Native Americans here. We have such a big Native American base around here in Oklahoma, and to see so many come to the game and support, whether, especially with this weather, raining and all that, but just to see even the smaller kids and even the older people, it's awesome to see them come out and support. And I know a lot of my family came out to this game, and like I said, it's great to see other Native Americans come out.
And as you can see there, a huge night in Indian country, as for the first time ever in the WNBA, two Native athletes going head-to-head, actually guarding each other. And in the world of Indian sports, we have to talk to Mr. Indian Sports, as I like to call him, founder of IndianSports.com, my good friend, Mr. Brent Cowie, coming in all the way from Haskell Indian Nations University there in Lawrence, Kansas. Brent, thanks for being with us today, man.
Hey Jason, how you doing? It's good to be here.
Doing very well, and it's great to see you, even though it's through satellite like this. But man, just talk about being there that night. And really, you were one of the first guys, I think, to break Shoni Schimmel onto everybody's radar, and then she kind of took over from there with her talent and skill. But just talk about what it's been like to see her and Angel both make such an impact on Indian country.
Yeah, I was alerted by a gentleman some years ago about Shoni Schimmel back when she was playing in high school and her Franklin High School days. And we've just been kind of following and chronicling her career along the way, as well as Angel's and her time at Sequoia. We've been following, Angel just as long as we've been following Shoni, even her Angel's days at KU's, Shoni's days at Louisville. So it's just been great for Indian country and Native sports everywhere to see two ladies come from humble homes, humble beginnings, and rise to the top of the level competition for the WNBA. So it's just been a real fun for me, because that's what we do here with Indian sports. Yeah. We follow all the best athletes. So it's been really neat to see them careers go, see them go from playing like Angel, playing at Fort Love of the game down in Henrietta, even playing against Jenna Plumlee back then, and Alyssa Brewer from UCLA and Tennessee. All these other great Native athletes that have been out there. So it's just been really good to see follow them.
Yeah, and Brent, you're on the forefront of all these things. And as I said there, I was thinking of Eric, because you've been covering a lot of Native athletes here in the last few years, and I think in the world of sports, we've had a few here and there, but it seems like there's been more of an influx. And I was talking to Eric Bailey, Tulsa World Sports writer today, about how there seems to have been, you guys have been a lot busier covering Native athletes here in the last couple of years, with Schimmel, Goodrich, the Thompson guys, and lacrosse becoming a lot bigger. You talk about Jacoby Ellsbury, Kyle Loesch, just a lot more people coming out and identifying as Native.
And that's what's been really great about it, is because it goes from, these athletes go from our little niche market of just being Native athletes to now where they're actually world-class athletes, right. And they're on the tips and tongues of every major reporter or newspaper out there. Because when we go to these same events to cover some of these athletes, they are just a regular athlete. They've been blended into the game, and that's what we want. We want to see athletes get to the top of the game, and the heritage is a secondary thing as opposed to a primary thing. And they're just out there representing themselves, their team, and their tribal nations, and playing and competing at the highest level. Because when young kids on reservations or in Indian communities see those type of athletes on TV, whether it's ESPN, Fox, CBS, etc., that's going to be somebody they can look up to and say, well, if so-and-so is doing that, I can do that. If Jacoby Ellsbury can win a World Series, I can win a World Series. So, and that's kind of what we do with Indian sports, is promote these athletes in those communities, those Native American communities, so they can know about Jacoby Ellsbury, because we still battle that today.
Right.
Trust me. I mean, as big as Indian country is, there's a lot of people out there who don't know who Shoni Schimmel is.
Right.
But I guarantee you, after this season, that probably won't be the case.
Yeah, that's changing quite a bit. And as you said there, I'm a huge Cardinal fan, so I kind of wish Jacoby Ellsbury wouldn't have won a World Series. But no, certainly proud of Jacoby and all of our Native athletes, Jabba Chamberlain. You know, the list goes on and on. There's a lot now.
Right.
Brent, before I let you go, let everybody out there know where they can find your stuff, and definitely tune in for more news stories like this, because you really, I've never seen anything like it. You can find them in the nooks and crannies all over this country. So tell us where we can go to find out all this great news.
Right. Yeah, right. You can go to our website, which is www.ndnsports.com. That's the three letters, the letter N, the letter D, and the letter N.
The only way to spell Indian if you're really a native.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
And or you can find us from there. You can link to our Facebook page, to our Twitter account. That's where we provide probably a daily influx of information that we get. And we've gotten a lot of feedback over the years to where people send us stuff now.
Yes.
So it makes it a little bit easier to find these athletes. It's just a matter of making sure we put them in our database and we keep track of them.
All right, don't be modest now. You make it look easy, but you do a great job. Certainly want to thank you for being with us today on Native News Today. We know that you're a busy guy, but certainly giving us a little bit of time. We're appreciative of it. It's always good to visit with you, Brent, and I know the folks are happy that you came on and shared a little bit of with us today.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Jason.
All right, thank you so much, Brent. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, though. We'll be right back with the rest of Native News Today.
We believe if you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. We believe that transitioning convicted citizens back into our communities enhances public safety. We believe that every citizen, even ex-prisoners, are important and are capable of change. We believe in reclaiming our citizens and investing them back into a culture that embraces healing and restoration.
We believe
in reintegration.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the Turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. So give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
Pumunakadat nak aza gidomen ajai jahaniat omen ibuwakidos.
Daniels in Ogitskish, Bonshongi Benoat, Bomio, Boshomizatlish.
Momesh, Harishongigo Imongin, Hobidagi Ani Omaga, Bomaha Hoye Imongin Oma Bonshomegigos. For more information about Muskogee language preservation, please call us at 918-732-7724.
It's that time again. Please make plans to join us August 10th through 12th at the beautiful Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant for the American Indian Chamber of Commerce of Oklahoma's 2014 gathering. Invaluable networking opportunities await, plus a chance to hear special guest speaker Gary Lightfoot Davis. The event kicks off with a golf tourney on August 10th, and the trade show opens on August 11th. Register now at www.aiccok.org. And welcome back to Native News Today. Thanks for staying with us through that break. And also, thanks again to Brent Cowie, good friend of mine. You know, back in the day, him and I actually did a little show called The Native Sports Rush. That was myself, the famous Gerald Wofford, Brent Cowie, Eric Bailey, as we talked about, Tulsa World Sports Writer. Had a lot of fun with that. And certainly glad that he joined us today on the program. Lots of great things going on always at The Joint at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Cherokee Nation's finest establishment there in Catoosa. But one of the more meaningful things coming up at that venue will be Nanyehi. It's a great Cherokee story about a Cherokee, really an icon, and it tells this story in the Cherokee language. There's Cherokee songs, all kinds of wonderful things, and for it to be there at the top Cherokee venue, I talked with the musical director and the lead actress, and they are just so excited to bring Nanyehi to Cherokee Nation's Hard Rock and Hotel and Casinos Joint.
Ever since I was a little girl growing up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, I always knew that I was a direct descendant of Nancy Ward, beloved woman of the Cherokee. And I always knew that one day I would pay tribute to her life. I didn't know quite how. I started playing piano when I was 9 years old, and instead of reading the big notes on a sheet of paper, I made up my own songs because it was a lot easier to do that, and it still is, actually. So anyway, right around the early 90s, I started writing a tribute album to Nancy Ward, and I wrote a handful of the songs that are now in the musical back in the early 90s. But then my country music career took over, and I got very busy on the road and playing the honky tonks and biker bars and you name it. So I sort of put the project aside, and then 6 years ago, actually 7 years ago, for the when Oklahoma celebrated its centennial, that was 2007, I met Nick Sweet in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and he was directing a little tribute show to the centennial. And he said, you know, we ought to write a musical based on Nancy Ward's life. And that was the first time I had thought about ever writing a musical, and I wasn't even familiar with the world of musicals. So Nick and I embarked on this project almost 6 years ago. But going back to Nancy Ward's story, when I was a little girl, my mom told me the story that she was chewing the bullets beside her husband Kingfisher when they were in battle with the Creek Indians in 1755. Kingfisher was killed, fell to the ground, and Nanyehi took his rifle and led the Cherokee to victory. And she was honored as a war woman, and then she stood for peace. And she prevented a lot of the loss of lives, not only Cherokee lives, but other tribes, and most importantly, the white colonists, because she knew the only way that the Cherokees could survive was to learn to live in harmony with all the whites that kept encroaching this land. It is overwhelming. It is a dream come true. One of my very dear friends lives in Chelsea, and he drives from Tulsa to Chelsea every day. And 6 years ago, he envisioned Nanyehi on the big billboard outside of the Hard Rock. And now it's there. It means so much to me that it is overwhelming at times. People can expect that we have tried to remain as true as we could be to the history of the life of Nancy Ward and to the events that happened during her lifetime. We also did not want this to be a history lesson, because a lot of people fell asleep in their history classes, including myself. Me being a songwriter since age 9, I wanted people to be inspired by the songs. I want them to leave the theater singing the songs. I want them to be thoroughly entertained. We have a wonderful leading actor, Michelle Honecker, starring as Nancy Ward. She's fabulous. We're going to have great fight choreography by Donnie Tate. And we're going to have a great band. My husband's in the band. We have a 6-piece orchestra, live music. It's all live, nothing canned about this. So I want to make a difference. I want people to walk out and feel like, you know what, I've got to contribute to make this world a better place. Nancy Ward's message must be heard, her message of peace.
It really is a role of a lifetime. I mean, I couldn't ask for a more dynamic character, and she did fight for peace, you know, the peaceful coexistence between the European Americans, and she was such an iconic woman in history. I think the most exciting thing is being able to play her from the age 14 to 84. I've never really covered a true character's entire lifespan. You know, it covers, the musical is from the beginning of her life in 1738 all the way to 1822. So it's really neat to be able to play a character from the peaks and valleys of her life, all the love and laughter that she shared and joy, to her triumph and peace, as well as her loss and despairs as well. So it's really a neat challenge as an actress to be able to cover all of that. I think the most exciting part about playing this was learning so much about the Cherokee culture. It was overwhelming. Just even throughout the musical, we covered things. There's basket weaving. There's the stickball games. So that was always so exciting. As far as Cherokee history, learning about the culture and the role that the women played, they were so honored and respected in Cherokee culture. The husband marries into the woman's clan, and then also the children takes a woman's clan as well, and their voice, and Nanyehi plays such a detrimental part in that, as in she was honored as beloved woman of the Cherokee, and so she had sometimes honors higher than the chiefs did. She got to decide whether the captives were enslaved or killed or released or adopted into the tribe. So I think that has been such a fascinating thing, is learning so much about the culture and applying that and trying to pay homage to exactly being truthful and respectful of that throughout the whole show.
All right, we certainly hope that everybody out there grabs up their tickets and goes out to the joint for Nanyehi. It's going to be a great, great production. Want to thank those folks for having us up there. Travis Nolan, good friend of mine there, Cherokee Nation. Media Relations does a great job booking us in for interviews, things like that. Travis, Tim Landis, all of my friends up there doing a great job and really facilitated that interview, so we want to thank them. Our next story here comes to us from the homelands, actually. Our mounds in Georgia. Mercer University is where this takes us as a journalism camp there. They have a Center for Journalism that puts on a camp every year as part of their grant. And this year's camp was creating an app to basically bring the Ocmulgee Mounds and the story of the Ocmulgee Mounds to the palm of your hand through technology, tablets, smartphones, things like that. It's really a neat thing that these students are getting involved in, and our own Muskogee Media was able to go and capture these images.
We are in our second year, and as a part of our night grant, what funds us, we have a digital media summer camp every summer. We tried to make our summer camps Macon-centric. So the first year was making music. So it was about Otis Redding and the Allman Brothers, music that was important to Macon and happened in Macon. And we focused on the mounds this year because it's such a cool thing to have such long history and such an important place to so many people located right in our backyard, and we feel like not many people know how important it is, and there's a big push right now. It's very newsworthy because there is the ONPPI, which is the Ocmulgee National Park and Preserve Initiative. They're trying to turn it's a national monument now. The mounds are a national monument, and they're trying to make them into a park and preserve. So there's a news peg for our camp, but also we think it's pretty cool that so much history has happened that not a whole lot of people know about, and if we feel like we can use the skills that we're teaching our students to tell that story, that would be pretty amazing. What we want to do is to make the mounds accessible on a higher platform. More integrated. We want stories, we want GPS mapping, we want people to be able to go and really explore the mounds and really see everything, and not just people who are here. They could go back with the app after they've left and find new things. So that's what we really want to do. We want to be, obviously we can't be as exhaustive as we want to be within, the 7 days that we have, but this is something that can be built upon, and we feel like this would be a really great start. And if people knew more about the importance and the history of the mounds, then people would have have a greater understanding of the context in which it is in Macon and where it is in American history.
I didn't realize that that especially this area went as far back as the Mississippian era. I did know about like Clovis peoples in Texas, but I didn't know that they were as far east as they are. So that's a thing that was definitely very, very interesting for me to learn. I didn't realize that this part of Georgia was so culturally significant either for the Ocmulgee. And I guess it's really interesting for me to have learned about just how a sacred spot can carry its meaning over so many thousands of years. And I think that definitely it's something that I'll keep in mind, that there could be so many different sides to a story that I wouldn't have known before, and to really keep in mind the different perspectives and the ways that minorities can be repressed in ways that we don't even know about.
We're not talking just about the Creek Nation in 1830. We're not talking about the Creek Nation in 1400. We're talking about the Creek Nation and the mounds as they are throughout history and in today. So I think that it's the continuity of it that has really, it's made it more present. It's not just a story in history books, it's lived. And I think that's very important for our campers and ourselves, that when we realize that. I think it really has opened our eyes to, because I feel like the learning of history can be narrow, and I think in doing this you broaden it. You become more aware of other stories and other narratives, other people, other points of view, and I think that's essential, especially for journalism.
And that'll bring it into another episode of Native News Today here on Tulsa CW 1219. Can't thank you folks enough at home for watching us, continuing to make us the #1 Native American show here in the state of Oklahoma. And really, we are so very glad to be able to bring all of the great things that Native people are doing into your living rooms and to your television sets, and also on your devices, such as your computers, things like that, through our YouTube channel. We definitely want to always promote our online channel because of the folks that love to hear our stories, love to hear our message, that aren't in our viewing area. So you can go on YouTube always and check out Native News Today, Muskogee Media. Look in there and look through some of our PSAs. You can look through some of our great features that we have on some of our people. The Chickasaw Nation calls theirs the profiles of a nation, and these are things that they bring on citizens of the Chickasaw Nation. We feel like we do that with a little bit of everything, so it's great to be able to profile our people, our departments, even things going on with other tribes. So we are certainly thankful for that and for this opportunity, and certainly for you folks at home viewing us and making us you push us to put out these great stories and put out these great episodes. So I want to thank again the folks with Cherokee Nation having us up for the premiere of Nanyehi coming up, and that's going to be coming up very soon. So you guys definitely want to check that out. Also, you'll have a chance to check out the app on the Okmulgee Mountains soon. I know those kids are working very hard at that at the journalism camp there, Mercer University. We want to thank them for having us, Muskogee Media, there to be able to shoot some footage of that camp, and them really putting our history and culture out there in the forefront. And also the Schimmel Show, the Goodrich Show. We definitely had to show that on the program this week because we know that you can't get enough of it out there, folks at home. So we want to thank you for joining us this week. As I said, if you want to look at us on Facebook, Twitter, you could certainly do that. Search Native News Today, at Native News Guys on Twitter. So for Jared Moore, Tyler Roberts, all of us here that make this thing go every single week, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next Saturday.